Welcome to In Progress, a podcast to help you grow and learn how to become a better version of yourself. Now, here's your host, Michael Sirigliano.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of In Progress. I'm your host, Michael Sirigliano. Now, today, we're going to be talking about God. We're going to be talking about religion, prayer, manifestation, all of that. Everything all-encompassing on that subject. Now, the reason why I decided to bring up the topic, and by no means am I an expert in the field at all. I'm actually fairly new into the realm of religion, seriously. I grew up in a Christian household. I grew up going to church, communion, all of that. And that was all forced upon me by my family, by my parents. Growing up in an Italian household, you don't have much of a choice. You go to church, you do your communion, your confirmation, you do all of that because you have to. It's not a choice. So, growing up, I never really resonated with the religion itself, and I viewed myself as somewhat of an atheist. Not in the sense that most people claim to be, where it's like believing in nothing, but I just didn't really know what to believe. But I always knew there was something, I just didn't really know what to believe, so I kind of just left it alone. I didn't really resonate with any religion. When people spoke about religion, I kind of mocked it. And recently on my journey of self-development, I've stumbled upon and realized that religion and God is a lot more prevalent than a lot of people think. So, about 2 months ago, my social media started changing to be more Christian-based, right? Which for me was odd, because my social media up until that point was basically everything that I talk about on this channel. A lot of self-development, self-growth, red pill, things of that nature, right? And you can imagine with people like Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, Fresh and Fit Podcast, Harmozy or whatever his name is, like a lot of those kind of people, like Brad Lee, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, like that was my social media feed for quite some time. And then you can imagine my surprise when randomly one day a Christian prayer Instagram video popped up. And I looked at it and scrolled and just continued on. And then another one popped up a little later in the day. I looked at it and I resonated with it. So I liked it. And then you know how the algorithm kind of goes from there, right? So, he liked it and he watched it. We're going to give him a whole bunch of it now. And at first I thought it was weird. I didn't really like it. But as I started reading the Bible verses and the people explaining the verses and how it looks in the real world, right? Because I feel like the biggest disconnect between the Bible and real life is just the fact that at the time that the book was written, the verbiage, the way in which the people spoke, that was all relevant at that time. But the further away from the Bible's creation you get, the less relevant it is at face value. And it becomes a lot more metaphors for current situations. And I think that's where I got held up the most, is just because the book is so old, the verbiage is so old, the way they speak is so old, the things they talk about are so old, I don't resonate with it. But when you take somebody who's been studying the religion for a long time, and you have them breaking it down and showing you how this relates to this current event, then you can sit back and think, oh, so this does still hold value. This does still reign true hundreds, thousands of years later. So as my social media started becoming more and more religious, with Christian, some Muslim, all of that, I started really thinking about the presence of God, right? And how my entire life leading up to that point, I didn't really believe in a God. I didn't pray. I didn't care. It was a nice thing, but it didn't really matter to me. And then once I started reading the verses on social media, once I started really understanding what it is that God does, and to me, it's not like the one Christian God is true or the one Muslim God is true, because all of the religions, in some facet or another, intertwine. Like, for example, I saw a video today where it was something to do with the prevalent language in Jerusalem at the time of Jesus Christ was Aramaic or something, I believe it was called. And the three main languages at the time were Hebrew, Aramaic, and something else. And basically, at the end of the video, they go ahead and show you that the way to say God in the language that was prevalent at the time of the Bible being written is Allah. And the way to say God in the Muslim culture is Allah. And that means the God. Allah. The God. And so all of the religions intertwine, and people fighting between religions makes no sense to me. Because every religion preaches peace, every religion preaches love, and there are people fighting that their religion is the one true religion. And in my opinion, I don't think whoever the God is that is the one true God, I don't believe that God really wants to watch everyone fighting and cursing each other over who has the true religion. But anyway, I digress. So, after finding religion, about 2, 3, 4 months ago actually, it was quite some time ago, I remember the first time that I prayed. I was at an event. I was cooking at an event at a local restaurant, and I was in the parking lot, and I prayed to God. Out of nowhere, mind you. Out of absolutely nowhere. I've never prayed prior to that, seriously, obviously like before dinner when I was a child, but I was by myself in my car looking up at the stars, and I prayed to God. I thanked God for the opportunity that was given to me, and I prayed that He continued to help me on my journey and give me more signs as to the route that I need to take, right? And that was it. It was short, sweet, to the point. And then, actually, that endeavor of me cooking kind of tanked. And normally, I would be upset because a venture of mine didn't go well. And I am very ego-driven, or I was, still am to an extent. But anytime something that I tried and didn't succeed, I'd get very upset. But after listening to the verses in the Bible and understanding how God and religion works, I realized it was God guiding me away from something that wasn't for me. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned in finding religion, is that failures aren't just failures, and that's the best way to grow. The best way for you to grow into a better human being is to understand that failures or things not working out how you wanted to is God guiding you in a different direction for a reason. It's a lesson. Everything is a lesson, and you must learn that lesson, or you'll have to go through that lesson again. And understanding that God puts you through these lessons so that you can become a better version of yourself, that makes everything a whole lot easier, right? So, in my scenario, I really, really, really wanted my food business to take off. I loved it. It was part of who I was. And it just did not take off. And instead of getting mad, instead of being upset, I was upset for a minute, but I just called it an L and took the lesson that I learned from it, It wasn't something I was passionate about. It went from being, it was a money grab, it was an attention grab. So it was money and attention driven, and because of that, it wasn't something that was for everybody. It wasn't for the better of everybody. It was just for me. And that's not something good. That's not something godly. That's not something God wants, right? You're not supposed to be doing things for you and for money. It's for the greater good, right? Service to others. That's rule number one. Everything needs to be for somebody else. You shouldn't be doing for yourself. So that's when I learned that that's not the right thing to do. I shouldn't be doing this food business so that I can get notoriety and make money off of people. I should be doing it because I love it, and I didn't love it. And it actually amplified my not hatred, but the fact that I did not like making food amplified after my prayer to God. So before, I kind of was in the kitchen and I was like dealing with it. But then the next time I went in after praying, it was almost unbearable. And then the next time, even worse. Until finally, it was like, I'm forcing myself to do this thing that I don't enjoy doing for notoriety. And to me, that was just ignorant. So I stopped. And then I continued on with my life. This podcast, the other podcast that I have, Harmonious Chaos, where I actually broke down my religious, one of the more recent experiences in my religious finding, if you want to call it that. And I'll go through that also on this podcast. But those are the things that I feel as though are putting out good in the world. So between this podcast, the other podcast, what I'm doing in my personal life, I feel like those are things that are service to others. Those are putting good out in the world, making other people better. And that is, in my opinion, that is close to godly, right? So God wants everybody to be doing that service to others, giving to others, helping others become better people, more love, more education, more understanding. And that's what this podcast is all about, and the other one that I do, the Harmonious Chaos podcast. So after the food endeavor didn't take off, and I kind of took a step back and just focused on the podcasts, I ended up really progressing in everything. This podcast started really taking off. I went from not really getting any new subscribers, not a lot of views, to more consistency, because one of the rules of God, one of God's biggest lessons that he teaches is hard work, right? Hard work, because you are a product of God. And when you're a product of God, you should be working hard in his image. You should be working hard because that's what he wants you to do. He gave you this body, this vessel that is amazing, right? You're a human being on earth. You can do so much. The possibilities are literally endless. And you're sitting here doing nothing. You're working a dead-end job at McDonald's, going home and smoking weed and drinking beer and playing video games and watching football. You can be doing so much more. And the body that's been given to you is able to do so much more. So when I realized that, it flicked a switch for me. I was like, instead of just doing one or two things throughout the week, I should be trying to better every area of my life, because God gave me a body that can do all of these things. So instead of just focusing on a podcast or two podcasts, now I focus on two podcasts and my physical health and my mental health and my spiritual health, and also developing other people and helping other people grow into better versions of what they want to be in the real world. Not just through this podcast, but in my real life. I guide others to become better versions, more competent versions of themselves. So I do this in my real life. This isn't just something I do for YouTube. If you met me in real life, I do the exact same thing with everybody I know. All of the lessons that I talk about in this podcast, I do in real life. So once I started really understanding that God is only going to be giving you lessons and God will propel you forward when you succeed in learning those lessons and when you put in the work and the effort. And once I really started giving my energy to God and putting my faith in God, everything propelled forward. My career propelled forward. The podcast propelled forward. My physical fitness propelled forward. Everything propelled forward. Because when you understand that it is God who wants you to be the best version of yourself, and when you realize that you are not living up to your full potential, there's a disconnect. And you need to fix that now. You can't just be satisfied living a mundane 9-to-5 job, go home, watch TV, drink beer, and sleep. You can't be satisfied with that life because you can do so much more. You can really do so much more. And the fact that you don't is insane to me because I don't care who you are or what you do for work right now or what you think your hang up is. You can do anything at all. And when you realize that every time you fail, it's not you that failed, but it's a lesson that's taught to you by God. God gave you that failure as a lesson so that you don't do it again. If you have a relationship and that relationship with that person doesn't work, say maybe you're dating, you and your boyfriend or you and your girlfriend, you're dating and he cheats on you. He cheats on you and breaks your heart. You could take it personal, or you can understand, hey, there's a lesson involved there. This kind of person, prior to the infidelity, is not somebody that I should be with. The red flags that I overlooked during the relationship, I shouldn't have overlooked. So it makes you take a step back and understand that maybe it's not me that is the issue, but it's the lessons that I'm being taught to become a better version of myself. And when you get that, when you understand that it's all lessons, it makes it a lot easier because then you don't take it all so personal, right? So now I'm going to go into the story that I was talking to you about earlier that I mentioned on my other podcast that showed me the true physicality of the Lord, right? So about 2 months ago, I was given the opportunity to go to and work a PGA tournament, right? Which I'm a fan of golf, and when the opportunity was given to me by one of my friends, I told her, I said, absolutely. She knows I like golf, so she gave me the opportunity and I took it. I met somebody at this event who was, in my opinion, when we met, he was really cool. He was very similar to myself in a lot of ways. So we just, we hit it off. We were talking, joking around. We hung out after we got out of the PGA thing. We hung out. We texted and talked a lot about money. And we would sports gamble, and he would give me advice, and I would take it. And then he started giving me advice on stocks. And when he gave me the advice on stocks, then that's where I kind of disconnected because I'm not too familiar with stocks. So when he gave me this advice, I tried to understand, and unfortunately I wasn't able to. So instead of trying to learn it on my own, I was lazy. And I said, if I give you money, will you do it for me? And he said, of course I will. Give me $1,000. So I did. Not give him $1,000, absolutely not. I wasn't that bad, but I was close. I gave him 500. I said, here's 5. Do what you can with that. And we'll revisit this in about a week. Because he said that this one stock was going to do this and my money was going to 4X and whatever. So I gave him 5. And he said that the money has not 4X'd. It hasn't even 1X'd yet. It actually is a little negative, but the stock is going to bounce. So give him $500 more, make it an even 1,000, and we'll be good to go. I started thinking it was weird because he was telling me how this stock is guaranteed to make money, and it didn't. So I was like, oh, this is really odd. But I gave him $250. So I made it $750. And he had my money at that point, $750. He said the stock is going to triple, quadruple, and I'm going to have so much money. So I gave him $250. So he had $750 total. Then after a few days, he called me. And he wanted to get into a different venture, a venture of phone scamming, right? Phone fraud, where you go and you buy a phone and only pay a down payment, turn around, sell it for full value, pocket the money. He was trying to get me involved into that. And when he called me on the phone about that, I said, yeah, we could talk about that later. What about the money from the stocks? And he goes, oh yeah, I'll call you right back. I'm in a bad area of town. Hangs up the phone. Then a few days goes by. He doesn't talk to me. Then he texts me more phone scam shit. And then he calls me about more phone scam shit. And again, while we're on the phone, I mention the money from the stocks. And he says, oh yeah, I got you, no problem. I will expedite the money to come out and I'll pay you the money on Monday. Monday came. No money, no conversation. Tuesday, Wednesday. I hit him up on Wednesday. Nothing. Thursday. He hits me back. Oh, my bad, been really busy, whatever, excuses. Then he hits me back wanting to do another phone scam. And at this point, I am livid. I am so pissed that I gave him my money and he's been holding on to it for now what at that point I believe it was a month. So the money was supposed to be a 4-day flip, turn $750 into like $3,000. He said that I ended up making about $300 profit on the entire endeavor. So I had $1,000 coming my way. Cool, whatever. But it's been a month now. I haven't seen a dime. I thought that my money was gone. He wanted to meet up somewhere to do another phone scam. And at this point, I let my anger get the best of me. And I agreed to meet up with him, knowing full well that I wasn't going to go through with the phone scam, but I was going to beat him up, for lack of better terms. I basically agreed to meet up with him so that I can beat him because he took my money. And I was going to jump him, steal his money, and then leave. And that's me letting my ego, because I took it personal, and my anger and emotion get the best of me. So he ended up not hitting me back, which thank God, and that never ended up happening. We never ended up meeting up. And then I fell back and I was like, wait, this is a lesson. All this is a lesson from God because I tried to make money fast and quick and lazily, and that is not what God wants. God wants me to work hard, to better myself, to become educated in all facets of life so that I am the most competent person on this planet. I need to be the strongest soldier for God. So obviously I'm not going to do that if I'm handing my money to some guy that I just met who knows about stocks. So I took it as a lesson. I prayed and I told God, I said, I understand this is a lesson that you're teaching me. I now understand that, and I wanted to thank you for not letting me go through and meeting up with him in that parking lot because it would have been bad. And I understand that from here on out I should not be lazy or try and make quick money, but do it the right way because that is the way that you intended me to do it. And Not even 24 hours after that prayer. I've been ignoring this guy now for a week and a half. He'll text me here or there. I'll ignore him the whole time. Not even 24 hours after that prayer to God, $500 comes through my phone. Here's half the money. Let's talk. I accept the money and I do not respond because I've learned my lesson from this person. This person obviously is not somebody that I want to be associated with, but he did have my money, so he gave me $500 and I took it, obviously, right? And then I continued on. He would text me, I wouldn't respond. He would call me, I wouldn't answer, so on and so forth. And then about a week later, another $500 comes through. Now I'm at $1,000. I got my money back. I accept it. And he texts me again. There's all your money. We're squared up. Let's figure out how to make more money. I ignore him. I do not respond. And I got my money back. So that, for me, made me realize that God had my back. I lost my money. And I chalked it up to a lesson at the end. I understood that it was a lesson that I needed to learn from God because I need to work hard in order to become the best possible version of myself. And giving money to some guy to double, triple the money and not learn how to do it myself, not understand what goes into this, that's pure laziness. Quick money is nothing more than pure laziness. And once I prayed to God and told him I understand it's a lesson, thanking him for the lesson, and going forward with my life, understanding that money's gone and it was a lesson that needed to be learned, I got the money right back. And that for me was pure physicality from the Lord. Like, hey, I took your money, taught you a lesson, here's your money back. Don't be stupid now. And I fully understand that. And from that point forward, that is what has given me the ability to kind of let go, right? Everything is in God's hand. Everything is in God's hands that I do. This episode that I'm doing right now is in God's hand. Whether this episode does well or does not do well is in God's hands. Whether this page does well or does not do well, it's in God's hands. Because everything that I do is through God. So because of that, whatever happens is the plan of God. Whoever I meet is the plan of God. It's not anything that I'm doing. All I'm doing is working my hardest. And everything else is up to the Lord. And that is why I believe that anybody on an endeavor to better themselves and become successful needs to have the Lord in their life. Now, I am not saying that you need to follow the Christian Lord. I'm not saying that. Because as I said earlier, all of the religions correlate in some way. So it's not right or wrong to follow Christian, Muslim, Buddhist. They all basically teach the same thing. But what I am saying is this. If you are to be pursuing an endeavor that requires you to work hard, that requires you to be on every day, that requires you to be doing more than everybody else, you can't do that on your own. And when you fail, especially as an entrepreneur, you take that to heart. As an entrepreneur, every single time you fail, you believe that that is you personally failing, when, in reality, all that it is a lesson. What did you do wrong? What did you do right? Where did you fall short? Don't do it again. It's that simple. And when you understand that every time you do anything, it is just the Lord either giving you a lesson or the Lord giving you a reward for working so hard, then you understand that the harder you work, the more rewards you get. And I don't care what religion you have or follow, or if you don't follow religion at all. Say you're atheist. Please disprove this theory. The harder you work, the more successful you become. There's no false statement there. The entire statement that I just said is true. The only difference between you and I is I work hard because I know that's what the Lord wants me to do, and I allow the Lord to teach me lessons and reward me, and I give my faith up to the Lord. I don't try and take everything in control. I let it go. God will give me what He wants to give me when He wants to give it to me. All that I'm doing is making sure that I'm going full force ahead all of the time. And then whatever He puts in my path, it is what it is. Is it a lesson? Is it a reward? Is it nothing? And just hard work with nothing at all for weeks or months on end. Either way, I'm working hard. So whether you're atheist, Christian, Muslim, whatever, work hard. And then however you want to figure out what is what, rewards, lessons, whatever, you do that on your own. But I think that having the Lord in your life while you're on this endeavor is nothing but pure positivity. Because in my opinion, you cannot go on this journey. You cannot do life without the Lord, without a God, right? You cannot do that. You need a God. There's evil in this world. And if there is evil in this world, there is God in this world. In order for there to be evil, there must be good. There is harmony, there is chaos, there is love, there is hate, there is light, there is dark. There is evil. We all know that. There must be God. Now, that's why I follow God and follow the Lord. And that's why I resonate with it so much, because since allowing myself to be completely enveloped by the Lord and by faith, whether you want to call it manifestation or prayer or whatever, everything in my life has gone according to plan. Because who knows what the plan is, but everything works out. I have not had anything, knock on wood, I want to keep it this way, but nothing terrible has happened. And anytime anything bad has happened, it's been a lesson that I understood and I took with me for the future. That's all that it is lessons that you take with you to the future. And like I said in the last episode, you have to start taking those lessons and using them in the future, because when you get to the point you want to be at, you need to be the most competent and confident version of yourself. And with the Lord providing you these lessons, that's how you do that. So, I'm here to say that if you're on a venture of entrepreneurial anything, right? If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to manage a company, if you want to do anything at all and want to succeed, if you have the Lord by your side, you will succeed. If you work hard like the Lord wants you to do, and if you make sure that everything that you're doing is service to others, you're not doing things selfishly or egotistically, but you're doing things strictly because it's serving others, you're going to succeed. You're going to be exactly where you want to be, without question. So you need the Lord by your side in order to do so. Now, this video is not me promoting Christianity by any means. I'm fresh in it, only a few months in, so I can't really speak to all of it, but I do know that since following it, a lot of positivity has happened in my life, and I have to say it is the religion of the Lord that has done that. But whatever religion it is that you resonate with, by all means, follow that religion. But you need something to help propel you forward. You cannot do it on your own, because there's a higher power that will help you and is willing to help you. All you need to do is work hard for that higher power. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or DM me. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video, and I'll see you guys next time.